You guys see this on the screen. What does this say on the screen, guys? UFC 317. TBD versus TBD. UFC 317 is literally less than 2 months away. It's June 28th, and we have no idea who the main event is. What is the UFC doing? Actually, they've went even as far as to announce UFC 318, Poirier versus Holloway 3, but yet we're a month, less than 2 months out from UFC 317, and there's no main event. There has been speculation going around by Arman Sarukian and some other fighters that the UFC is waiting the pending results of UFC 315, and if Belal wins, Makhachev will defend his title at lightweight. If Belal loses, then Makhachev will move up, which is a pretty funny sneak diss by Makhachev, pretty much admitting that Belal might lose to JDM and he's waiting to see. If Makhachev was actually a good teammate, wouldn't he just assume that Belal would win and book his next title defense? Either way, what is the UFC doing? Where's Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall? Where's that fight? Jon Jones is yapping about he needs 6 months to prepare. Bro, you fought Stipe in November. We're in April. There's your 6 months to prepare. What are you doing? Jon Jones is on ice. Tom Aspinall is literally begging to fight Jon Jones. He's on his hands and knees at this point. And Dana White and the UFC are radio silent. Like, we've got no new news. The UFC's felt extremely dry lately. Is it just me, or does the sport feel dry lately? Like, I'm waking up every single day, I'm checking the news, I'm checking Reddit, I'm checking the UFC Instagram, I'm checking all the online news sources that I can find, hoping that I see UFC 317 main event announced, this person versus this person. At this point, I don't even care who it is. Just give us a damn main event, dude. I mean, we're in May now, and the main event is yet to be announced, and the fight's in June, and it's really frustrating. I've noticed that the UFC took this angle recently with cards. They seem to be announcing a lot of cards like very, very last minute. I don't know if that's because they're having trouble with the fighters signing the contracts or what it is, but I don't know about you guys, but I like when a card's announced like 3 months ahead of time so we can build some hype, we can get some press conferences, we can have a good lead up. But it's like recently, even UFC 311, it was announced like last second. Like, why are we waiting until the month of the damn fight to announce who's the main event and who's fighting on the card? I mean, not only is there not a main event, there's not a single fight announced on this card. Now, I already know Dana White's bald ass is going to get on his Instagram and say, "What's up, fight fans? We have a banger for you. We have 10 fights announced for UFC 317. In the main event, Tom Aspinall will face Cyril Gane for the interim heavyweight championship in the second defense of his heavyweight title while Jon Jones waits in the wings." And that's ultimately, it's very frustrating. And if we get Islam versus Gachi at UFC 317, then I honestly think everybody should just boycott the sport, because who gives a flying fuck about that fight? Who cares about Islam Gaethje? If you want to see Islam versus Gaethje, you're everything wrong with the sport today. We've been giving, or I say we, Dana White and the UFC have been giving so many undeserved title shots in recent years. Justin Gaethje should not be sniffing a title. It should be Islam versus Orman or Islam versus Ilia Topuria for International Fight Week. And if you're a real fan, you know it should be Topuria because it has the most hype of any UFC fight. And I'm tired of yapping about it. I'm sick and tired of talking about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I'm tired of talking about who's going to be the main event for 317. Can we just get some damn clarity, Dana White? Grab your little bald ass and get on Instagram and do your little announcements as you do. We've been waiting, dude. We're sitting here day and night just waiting for an announcement, and yet we're left with nothing. We're left to just twiddle our thumbs and draw these fake conclusions, and then eventually we're going to be left disappointed because our expectations are going to be built up so high from waiting all this time that no matter what you announce, it's going to be a letdown, because we already know Ali Abdullah Sleaze is in the background trying his hardest to get the UFC to book Islam Gaethje because he manages both fighters, and he's a sleaze bag and he wants to get paid double, which I guess from a business aspect makes sense. But I just want to know who the main event is. I mean, who do you guys think is going to main event it? I've heard rumors. People say only Chella said this, but it's going to be Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall. And some other fighters have been coming out and saying Tom Aspinall might headline International Fight Week, which would be extremely disappointing. I do not want to see an interim title fight for International Fight Week. I want to see an undisputed title. I've heard other rumors that Islam's waiting on the results of UFC 315 to see if he wants to move up or not. That's up in the air. But it's like, obviously, we can't have Pantoja headline because flyweights can't headline big cards because who cares? Merab O'Malley's on 316, right? 145. Volkanovski just fought. He's going to need some time. 170, Bilal Muhammad's fighting on the 10th. He's about to fight. Dricus versus Hamzat has already been confirmed not to be on 317, right? Magomed Ankalaev versus Pereira, that's kind of been crickets. We haven't heard too much on what that fight brings, or not what it brings, when it's going to happen. So that's kind of another situation where it's like crickets. And then we have, so the two fights that really should be the main event for this, it should be Jones Aspinall, or it should be Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. But for whatever reason, the UFC allows Jon Jones. Listen, I know a lot of people are raging at Makhachev but let's not forget this guy just fought in January. We should be raging at Jon Jones, if anybody. This guy has not fought since November. He refuses to fight Tom Aspinall. He's holding the UFC hostage because he knows that he's Dana's daddy, and Dana will drag the UFC's name to the mud just to do anything Jon Jones wants to do because he's so desperate to have a Michael Jordan of the sport, or the GOAT of the sport, be up top and sell pay-per-views because he knows the UFC's in a tough spot right now. So Jon Jones has just been allowed to tarnish the sport, drag it through the mud, do whatever he wants, not fight as interim champion, fight Stipe Miocic, request these insane numbers of $50 million, and draw this narrative that he doesn't owe the fans anything, despite beating women, doing steroids, being inactive over the last 14 years. He's had 17 fights in 14 years, but Jon Jones, guys, he doesn't owe the fans anything. He doesn't owe Tom Aspinall anything. No, fuck that, dude. Jon Jones owes the fans everything. He's been a complete scumbag to the fans, to the UFC, and everyone around him. Why is this guy not headlining 317? If you don't want to fight Tom Aspinall, little bro, then just drop the belt. No one cares. Like, if Jon Jones would have said, you know what, I beat up-and-comers my whole career, I don't feel a need to fight Tom Aspinall, he'd just vacated the belt and rode off into the sunset, nobody would have cared. But the fact that he's just holding a division hostage, he wants to be, he's just crowned as the longest reigning heavyweight champion, and now Tom Aspinall is the longest reigning interim heavyweight champion. It's like, it's an embarrassing situation. I'm yapping up. The topic is who's going to fight for 317 because, like I said, we don't have a single fight on the card. But I'm just yapping about Jon Jones because it should be Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That should be the main event. But Jon Jones is too much of a pussy to accept the fight. So we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs, hoping that Bilal Muhammad dominates Jack Della Maddalena. So Islam is forced to stay a lightweight and face Topuria. But knowing the UFC, even if Bilal Muhammad does win, which he's favored to do, Islam's going to end up fighting Gachi because the UFC can't seem to do anything right. Ilia Topuria claims he's been offered or guaranteed a title shot upon his lightweight move, right? But we still, and apparently Islam's in camp, Ilia Topuria's in camp, but it's all rumors, man. Is anything confirmed? Is anybody actually in Topuria's gym watching him train? Is anybody in Islam's gym watching him train? Can anyone actually confirm if they're actually in fucking camp? Dude, I'm so tired of Chael Sonnen yapping on his YouTube channel, posting some fake news every fucking 10 minutes, and then it gets on a headline on Reddit or on the UFC news, and I read it, I'm like, oh shit, and then I see it's just fucking Chael Sonnen, dude. I'm sick of it. I just want to know who's fighting at UFC 317. I'm literally raging. Like, I can't even make UFC content right now or think about the UFC because all I can think about is how Dana's bald ass and the UFC and Hunter Campbell and all these douchebags continuously drop the ball and fumble the bag over and over and over again. We don't get big fights anymore because the UFC doesn't put on big fights anymore. They're sitting cozy in their little ESPN pay-per-view deal, and they're like, dude, we can just put on these mid-fights, man, and stay at the Apex. Fuck the Apex, dude. We need big fights. You know what I think the UFC should do? They should take every single week, the week after a pay-per-view, they should take a week off every single month and only have 3 fight cards a month. Let the fans digest what happened at a pay-per-view. Take that week off. That way, we can have more stacked fight nights. The whole ordeal behind us not having stacked cards, apparently, is because the UFC can't get, like, the highest talent pool to fight that often. Okay, skip a week every month. I get they have to hit a certain amount of fights with ESPN, but the ESPN deal's up now. I'm ranting, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just, like I said, the main point is I'm frustrated because as fans that we literally base our entire fucking life around this sport, we still don't have a UFC 317 main event. And it's embarrassing. It's May 1st. June 28th is when the damn card is scheduled, and we don't have a main event. As a matter of fact, we don't have a single fight on the card. What are we doing? I have a hunch that the UFC has this card pretty much built, and they're just waiting on the main event. So I wouldn't be surprised if out of nowhere, after, hear me out. We're probably going to see a week after UFC 315, Dana White's going to announce the main event of UFC 317 because it probably is just Islam waiting to see what happens. But that doesn't make this whole situation any less ridiculous and just less embarrassing for the UFC. Like, what kind of sport are you announcing your main event that people pay $80 to $90 and buy tickets for? Like, the fact that tickets are on sale for UFC 317 is actually laughable when you don't even know who's fighting. Like it literally could be Tuco's Tacos versus Shamil Gaziev. We don't know because the UFC drops the ball over and over. And I don't know, man. I'm just tired of going on the UFC website and seeing TBD versus TBD. When are we going to see it say Ilya versus Islam? When are we going to see it say Jones Aspinall? We're never going to see Jones Aspinall because Jones is too much of a scared little duck. And he might have, I don't know, man. I'm frustrated, guys. I'm a massive fan of the sport. I've been following this sport since I was like 9 years old. I'm 30 years old now, and here I am raging about the UFC in 2025 because they just don't know how to do anything right. They can't do anything right. They put on Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili, which literally no one cares to see. Like, who gives a damn about that fight? And it's like, we just want to see the best fights put on. Is that too much to ask for? We don't want any more cards like 315 or 312. 315 is okay, but 312 was an absolute embarrassment. And now we don't. 316 is kind of mid. 318 is going to be mid. I'm sorry. I love Dustin Poirier, but he should not be main eventing a pay-per-view for the BMF title in 2025. We should have a champion at the top of that card. As a matter of fact, win or lose Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, they need to retire the BMF belt. No one cares about it anymore. But either way, that's the rant for today, guys. Who do you guys think is going to be fighting at UFC 317? I just yapped it up for a good 11 minutes about it. I'm hoping that it's going to be Ilya versus Islam. And honestly, I'm just fatigued from thinking about who's going to fight on it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think it's going to be Ilya Islam? Do you think it's going to be Jones Aspinall? No way that's happening. But drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed me yapping it up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate it, guys. I'm out. Deuces.